Blog Talk Radio.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a special edition of Center Stage. I'm Kheri, Hines, your host. Tonight we're live as the decision from the Mike Brown grand jury is coming in. I just turned it off because I can see where that's headed. Y'all can yell when it comes in, but by all indicators, he's going to be found not guilty. This is probably the hardest show I've ever done. I've never come live in a situation like this. And I'll be honest with you, my heart is heavy as I just watched the footage as the protesters are forming in the streets of Ferguson. I don't know what I feel. My emotions are so raw. I just cannot believe that we're here. You know, I just listened to Bob McCullough, in essence, basically say that you can be an eyewitness in everything you saw just right before you didn't happen. I mean, he made every eyewitness account out to be some delusional people who are out to just make up stories about a murder they just saw. I mean, that's just crazy to me. But I want to talk about it with you tonight because I'm going to be honest with you. Y'all, I'm not doing well with this. I'm not doing well at all because as Christopher just texted me a little bit ago, it's hunting season on black people. It's open season on the black man. And, you know, if you got eyewitness accounts and they can't be considered credible because law enforcement either intimidates them into changing their testimony or if they don't change their testimony, they're just somehow discredited. Anyway, this stuff has got to stop, y'all. This is a time that we got to come together. I mean, if no one recognizes that but me, I can see the handwriting on the wall. If we don't come together now, y'all, we're going to be picked off one after another. Call in tonight. The phone number is 347-850-8390. Get on the phone. If you live in Jennings, if you live in Clayton, if you live in Ferguson, if you live in St. Louis, if you live in Dalewood, if you live in Blackjack, Spanish Lake, Greendale, Normandy, we want to hear from you tonight because you know what? The streets of your communities are about to be turned into a war zone. And if we're not careful, this thing's going to spread across the country, all because the St. Louis area did not want to acknowledge that one of their officers killed a man in cold blood. Let me call my co-host into this conversation tonight. Good evening, Mr. A.J. Houston and Christopher Buzz. How are you all this evening?
I'm doing fine.
We're here. And how you doing, Chris?
This is crazy, y'all. This is crazy.
You know,
Kheri.
Go ahead, AJ.
No, Chris. Now I was going to say, in the beginning of the statement, you could see where it was going because he started out with unfounded was the first keyword, then insatiable grab of 24-hour news media catching any line or any story, any word was the next part. So it's like everything you heard wasn't true. They just passed it on. And then when he brought in the store information, as though that store information came out way later that they considered it was Mike Brown, but the store owner at that time said he wasn't even sure if it was Mike Brown.
Yeah.
But that part never came out. So I'm trying to figure out why is it that every black man has to be assassinated, named first, even after he's dead?
Excellent question. Christopher, I mean, what are you thinking?
Well, this is the one thing I'm thinking. I will say this: I'm saddened, and in terms of not because of the verdict or lack thereof, for the family and for the relatives and all those who knew Michael Brown and having to deal with this, I think, rogue decision. But I will say this: even at this point, this is probably one of the greatest opportunities, not the greatest, but one of the greatest opportunities for Black America to make good. In other words, we can take this tragedy and we can actually craft it and do something with it so that we do more than just talk. We do more than just march and protest. We can do some things strategically now that we can put the pressure on white America, because what is very, very important that people understand, I'm a little bit closer to the situation of the criminal justice system and the police from my foxhole because of what I went through. But I will say this: I kind of knew that this verdict was more than likely going to happen than not happen. I was hoping and praying, but because of what I dealt with in filing complaints, and I know you have too, Kheri, others have filed formal police complaints, you're really never going to get the traction while you have police officers and state's attorneys basically investigating themselves. When you put that on there, no matter where you go, there's a universal order among civil authorities, particularly the police, and that is, before they will let one fall, they will lie, they will circumstance the evidence, they will hide, they will plant, they will do whatever the letter of the law allows them to do, not to have to actually charge one of their own. So this is surprising to some, but it's not surprising to others. You've already had similar circumstances where white police officers have shot black men. And until we take that veil away and we allow some type of civilian incorporation where we can be sitting at the table, this is even before the grand jury, when we're talking about what's going to be presented and how the state's attorney decides what goes in and what goes out. And people need to keep that in mind. When they say that the grand jury received 70 hours of testimony and evidence and so forth, what they did not say is that there is information that, because it's the prosecutor who has to take it to the grand jury, I can guarantee you that there was a lot of information that was either misconstrued or determined by the state's attorney that they did not give to the grand jury. But suffice it to say, Black America, we have to organize and mobilize and do the things so we don't let this opportunity slip by, kind of like the Rodney King. And we can do more in terms of boycotting. We can do more in terms of registering the vote. We can do more in terms of making sure that in any given municipal, when there's a police alleged misconduct, there's somebody or somebodies from the civilian sector sitting at that table that has a say in that matter too. If we continue to allow police to investigate police, we're going to continue to get what happened today.
I agree. Listen, y'all, if you just tuned in, you've come center stage tonight. We're talking about the topic, the Mike Brown grand jury decision, which is coming in as we speak. Also, listen, about 9 o'clock tonight, Anonymous is supposed to be joining us, y'all. Anonymous, saw what was going on early on after this Mike Brown shooting, and he, joined in to help the protesters in Ferguson. Actually, he's in Ferguson tonight amongst the protesters, but he's supposed to be calling in about 9 o'clock tonight to give us some insight as to why he saw so early on how poorly this was going to turn out and why he joined the protesters, and also what's going on with the feud between him and the KKK. What appears to have happened is the KKK made threats against the protesters to use deadly force if they came out and protested after the Mike Brown decision. And so Anonymous began to hack the websites of the KKK, and so the feud went back and forth. And Anonymous is going to call in tonight and give us a little insight into that. But before, and AJ, were you saying something? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to make one other point, is that, I'm saying November the 4th, earlier this month, I passed out voter registration cards for 4 or 5 months before then. But I'm saying you can imagine how Ferguson and those small municipalities are if in the city of Fort Worth there were at least 48 races for court for justice of the peace or something dealing with the court. There were Republicans, incumbents that had nobody running against them.
We got to do better.
So we're looking at the grand jury. So I'm saying you look at the makeup of what's going on. If we don't fill some of these positions with somebody that has our best interest at heart, we would never get a just decision, because we can think about ground level. But see, if you don't have somebody voted in the office that will sit out here and be just and respectful of you as a person, as a culture, and for your community, you can never get any justice.
And speaking of that, Bob McCullough, who we just, some of you are probably still watching, he just won his seat uncontested. So that just shows you the people of Ferguson, y'all got to do better in that area about getting some people on the ballot that can work for you. Okay, listen, we got some people on our panel tonight. Heather I'm going to chop this up. Garzinski is going to be with us. Also, Daniel Johnson, he's the president and at Solutions Institute and the founder of People Against the NDAS. I'm going to open up their phone lines now. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm struggling with whose number is who. Just a second. Daniel, good evening.
Good evening.
You were down there amongst the protesters. What are your thoughts?
Oh, wow. That's a really long answer to that question.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of different things that could be said here, but as I said a couple hours ago on my own personal Facebook, really, and I think one of your co-hosts described it earlier as well, what we have right now and what the people of Ferguson have right now is a massive opportunity put in their lap. Think of this as who on this broadcast knows or is familiar with the term Bloody Sunday and knows what Selma, Alabama was?
Probably most people.
I would hope so. Selma, Alabama, there was a young protester who was killed by the Alabama State Police. And about a month later, there was about 600-ish people protesting, and Alabama State Police decided to beat them up, tear gas them, and put 50 of them into the hospital, as well as I believe they killed another one. And what Martin Luther King did is he had a more militant group, I think they were called the CNNC, and then he had the Student Nonviolent Cooperating Coalition, or SNCC, I believe. He had these two groups that were arguing with each other. One wanted to take a more radical, violent approach, and one wanted to take a more peaceful approach. And he made the decision that they should take the peaceful approach. And when they protested and went into the streets, it was a peaceful protest, and the Alabama State Police did not interfere. They won. That was a huge turning point. The civil rights movement really hadn't television coverage, really hadn't gotten much input, and most of white America at the time had not paid any attention to it. But on Bloody Sunday, when those protesters were beaten up, the televisions were lit up with pictures of the civil rights movement, and they did not fight back. They chose nonviolence, and in choosing nonviolence, they won the most important war, which was for the hearts and minds of their detractors. And that's how they were able to that was the turning point. And many scholars, historians will agree that was the turning point to the civil rights movement. Well, right now we have a movement in Ferguson against police brutality and against the militarization of police, and the militarization of in countries or empire's enforcers will always be targeted at the class that has the least political power. In this case, that happens to be a lot of Black and Latino America. And so we have a chance here, the people in Ferguson in particular, and the people in St. Louis have a chance here to show the world that it doesn't matter what tactics they'll use, it doesn't matter what kind of hole they dug themselves in here, we're going to push back, and we're going to push back peacefully. And one other thing I'll note is I am completely for, and I have spent a lot of my life pushing for due process, pushing for judicial process. No matter how heinous the crime you're accused of, you will always get your day in court. And what frustrates me the most about this is with the grand jury process being behind closed doors, the perception at the very least, if not the reality, is that neither Mike Brown nor Darren Wilson got their day in court. And that frustrates me to a great extent, because if Darren Wilson is indeed innocent, it doesn't matter how many people are calling for his head, he needs to walk. If he is not innocent, then it doesn't matter how many people support him, he needs to go to jail, he needs to be punished for his crimes. But because we're not going to move to an open court, because we're going to stick with the rather secretive grand jury, now we're not going to see that, and neither party is going to get their day in court, and I think that's what frustrates me the most about this.
I agree. Heather, good evening. How are you?
Hi, how are you tonight?
I'm good. You actually were down there in Ferguson as a protester and a medic. What are your thoughts? I mean, listening to the grand jury decision coming in, what are your thoughts?
I just think that the biggest way that we can make them look bad in the situation is by being peaceful. Right now, everything is kind of cool, but by being peaceful and going against what they're expecting, change the expectation, and, you get different results. I'm hoping that things don't get bad down here. I mean, I can see how they would, but I'm sitting here wondering as I'm watching it, how long will these protests last? I mean, it doesn't change anything as far as that. The one thing we'll do is keep public awareness on, police brutality and things like that. But there's nothing that we can do to change this now other than start to change the laws and, start to change our neighborhoods so that these types of things aren't happening, and these misconceptions that they have about a specific race or, area, they need to debunk those stereotypes by doing better.
I agree. You and Daniel both brought up excellent points. Neither Mike Brown or Darren Wilson got their day in court. And that the fact that we allowed that process not to complete itself is a shame. And also, how long can the protest last? We really got to think about that. To the protesters out there, I commend you for what you've done. I mean, I haven't seen anything done like that in my lifetime. However, everybody's got to get back to life that's normal. It's unrealistic to think that the protest can last forever. But I think what can happen is the protest can be taken to another level, and that means off the streets and into the ballot boxes. That means recall elections of people like Bob McCullough. That means bringing your communities together, knowing your neighbor, voter registration drives, taking back our communities, because if we don't, we're going to see black men, shot down in the street. We just saw a 12-year-old the other day. We've seen 3 or 4 shootings since Mike Brown. And I have, a sinking suspicion that it's going to continue. We got to do better. We're going to go back to the phone lines. We're going to pick up area code 571-335. Good evening. This is Miss Mary Neal. Welcome to the stage.
Hey there. Yes, it's Mary Neal. Listen, I am so glad that we finally got to this night when the verdict is behind us. I'm reading a post now that's saying that the people in Ferguson, they seem to have stopped their live streaming. They seem to have them on a communication shutdown right now. This man is saying that no network error, and we had a foreign reporter on the roof with us, and she was not able to get a signal on her cell phone. And the people on the ground are saying, I can't tweet out. That's live streamer Argus Radio. It seems like the police state is using protests in Ferguson as a testing ground for all of their crowd control weapons. Many are obvious, like the curfew enforced by platoons of soldiers, armored tanks mounted by snipers, stun, tear, and smoke grenades, no-fly zone, sound cannons, and designated free speech zones and media zones. Apparently, they're different now. So the situation is that the people who are on the ground in Ferguson are not able to live stream right now. But we do know that the district attorney has announced that there's no indictment against Officer Wilson. Also, we know that Officer Wilson recently married a sweetheart from the police department. They're a female Ferguson police officer. And we do know that he met secretly with networks, major TV networks, to arrange interviews. So next thing we know, he'll be painting like Zimmerman. He'll probably be selling paintings on the internet. So this is the situation, everyone, and I want to say that I recommend that everyone boycott for justice and not necessarily get out and protest and make yourself a live target for these vigilante groups and for police. Just stay home, but you know what? Stay home on the weekend too. Don't get up at 5 in the morning rushing out to trade with such people as the ones who are preventing justice in this case. Thank you very much, Kheri.
Thank you. We're going to go to 314-830. Good evening. You're on Center Stage. 314-830. You're on Center Stage.
Oh, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I had my phone on mute. Sorry about that. Well, first and foremost, I agree about taking it to another level. I was informed by a reliable a source Friday that there was going to be a media blackout and that there were going to be things that were going to go against our constitutional rights. You know, when I was informed of this, I said that's not possible. But actually, they did do that. Not only that, I was also informed by some associates that the grand jury actually knew Friday, and so did Wilson, that he knew Friday. And one of his solutions to calm everyone down was to give a letter of resignation, and he was talked out of that. That being said, one of the things that we have to do, which is what me and my family have done, is identify companies and corporations that support him and no longer utilize those services or go and patronize those businesses. That's what we're doing. Walmart. Absolutely. That is what. And by the way, to walk away from Walmart, it causes me to lose money in my pocket, but I prefer to pay more at Target than to pay less at Walmart. My values are more important than the discount. That's all I have to say on that.
I agree. Thank you, caller. Wow. Just the fact that he knew Friday and the fact that they talked him out of his resignation, y'all, I'm sorry, that takes this conversation to a whole nother level. That's scary. 817-729, good evening, you're on Center Stage. And Christopher, your line is back open. 817-729. Area code 817-729, you're on Center Stage. Obviously, either that person has muted their phones and not aware. Global Political Awakening. Good evening, Mark Daniels. How are you? Mark Daniels, good evening. What is going on with everybody? So much. Global Political Awakening. Good evening, you're on Center Stage. Okay. Obviously, we're happy.
Hey. Okay. Hey, Kheri, while you're trying to get through, can I say something real quick?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. What I didn't know previously is that there's two things I want to say real quick, so that people understand, because I know people are going to say, oh, well, all the evidence and the information came in, and they sifted through it, and they came to what they found is fact-finding. Well, here are two facts. The prosecutor has the authority to make a charge, basically, even before the grand jury, because in my case, the grand jury came like 3 months later, but they made the formal charges that very day. So that's one red flag. So people have to understand that. When something like that happens, that almost always means that the prosecutor is going to be very passive, and they really don't want to pursue charges because they didn't even file. They actually went to the grand jury and said, what do you think? So that's number one. And then the second thing is that I also found out that Mr. McCullough, I believe he's been a county prosecutor for over 23 years. In the 23 years he's been in that seat, he has not prosecuted a single police officer from a police shooting. So people need to keep that in mind. So he was going to keep his record on point.
Wow. See, y'all, that's the kind of stuff. I mean, you know, it really kind of turns my blood to boiling, because you know, the people in Ferguson had to know, you know, that what they were dealing with, and they didn't go to the polls and get him out of there, or they didn't put somebody, you know, up against him to run. That's crazy. If you know that this guy doesn't work for you, and I know, you know, he was running before Mike Brown's situation, but at the same time, any time that you all heard that he was coming back in office, it should have automatically been some opposition put up against him. I say do a recall election and get Bob McCullough out of there, because just listening to him tell all those lies on TV a minute ago was absolutely scary. I think the most important thing I heard him say in the brief time I was able to listen is that he absolutely lied. A DA lied on national television and said that Darren Wilson knew that they had committed or allegedly committed a robbery. And that's just not the case. So the police chief came out early on. Did anybody forget that? The police chief came out and said Darren Wilson did not know that there was an alleged robbery. Did anybody forget that? I mean, really?
No. But when you're a prosecutor, Kheri, they don't forget any of that. Here's the thing, though. Mr. McCullough knows that there's an impenetrable wall called prosecutorial immunity. So the bottom line is that lying on national TV or withholding evidence or planting evidence, remember when I said that before, that's why the cop who arrested me, he didn't care because he knew that he had that shield. So Mr. McCullough knew that too, and the bottom line is that he knows that nothing was going to happen to him because he's the prosecutor, and he has federal prosecutorial immunity. That's a shame, but that's what they hide behind, even when they are caught in misconduct and lie.
Somebody's got noise in their background. If you're not speaking, if you would, mute your phone when you're not speaking, if you got in your background. We're going to go to area code 708-717. Good evening. You're on Center Stage.
Good evening, Kheri. I just wanted to add to the conversation. And what I wanted to bring forth is how silly the explanation was. And if we go back and examine what the gentleman said on why he wasn't indicted, and everybody just listen to what he said. He said that Mike Brown got into an altercation with him while he was in his vehicle. Darren Wilson shot him. Mike Brown ran and then turned back around unarmed to the man who shot him. Is that logical? Sometimes you have to just listen to what was said. It was so stupid. If somebody shot me and I don't have a gun, I will keep running.
No, but what you left out, he said that there were no bullets from his back, shot in his back. He said none.
And the thing is, let's examine what was said. And also, I really am tired of white America talking about how the black people in Ferguson, I'm not advocating violence. It's really up to the community. How white America loves to say, let's be dignified and let's do this nonviolently and let's be peaceful. But let's be real. This nation was built on violence against the indigenous peoples that were here. America celebrates her war heroes. America celebrates her killers. So don't ask an oppressed people to just peacefully take the ass whooping. I just got to keep it 100 this evening. And I would really like everybody to listen to what the man said. It just blew me away when he said Mike Brown was shot, ran, then turned around to get shot some more. That's beyond belief. And that's what I wanted to add. So.
You know what I walked away with? I thought, how long did it take him to sit down and craft that lie? I mean, you guys have got to pay attention. This is the guy who determines if people are going to be charged or not charged in that particular county, and this guy's a liar. I'm sorry, he's a liar. I just want
let me just jump back in. And it's amazing how the bulk of the community that say that Officer Wilson was unjust in what he did was discredited. And maybe 2 to 3 that said something that was in favor of Officer Wilson, they were totally credited. See, this thing was a sham from the get-go, and I would really like, and it's kind of soon right now because what he stated in his statement was just said, we need to go back over it and really analyze what he said and pick it apart because it's just nonsensical. You know, don't piss on me and tell me it's raining. Give me a break.
I agree. Yo, listen, we were listening to the police scanner just before I came on, and let's just say this. They were on there saying, this is the Ferguson police scanner. They were on there saying, listen, all hospitals stand by. Okay, stand by. They wanted to get a roll call from all the hospitals about whether or not they were ready. What means ready for what? Okay, somebody's got noise in their background. If you would, please mute your phones at this time. You're telling every hospital, okay, someone has noise in their background. What I'm going to have to do at this time, I'm going to have to go and mute everybody's phone until I find out who the noise is. Okay? So if you got noise in your background, please mute it. This is the problem I have with that. Every hospital stand by for what? What are they planning? You got Homeland Security up there. You got okay. Christopher, AJ, before I mute you, or is that your background before I?
No, Kheri, my phone's on mute. I'll put it back on mute.
No, that's not mine either. I was on mute.
It's not mine.
Okay, Heather and Daniel before. Is it yours?
Yeah, it's not mine either.
Okay, I'm going to have to mute everybody, but before I just mentioned, because I can't find out who's got the noise in their background. Okay, that was Global Awakening, I believe, that had all that noise. But anyway, what are you telling the people to stand by for? You got Homeland Security, you got the FBI, you got the National Guard, you got private militarized police presence or military, what do you call it, private military actors. I mean, what are we doing here, people? And y'all got to wake up and recognize if they are planning for war, I'd go in the house. I wouldn't beat them on their battlefield, but I'd beat them. Trust me, but I wouldn't beat them on their turf. That's crazy. And so I'm not sure what they're planning for, but it feels very much like the people are going to be ticked off if they go out there tonight and protest. If you got the U-strings down and the camera people are, not able to get footage, there's going to be a problem for people. I mean, really, just be realistic about that. We're going to go to area code 817-893. Good evening, you're on center stage. Good evening. 817. Hi.
I don't know if you're talking to me because I forgot what number I'm calling from. But I just want to say I agree with you totally, Kheri, that if, the thing is, we know we have strong warriors. We know that we have brave members, but let it be for something. Getting out there and going toe-to-toe against police in the dark of night, they don't even have cameras on you. It's kind of useless. Plus, we already have all the media that we need on what was done. It's time now to force the U.S. Justice Department to do its job. The United States is a member state of the United Nations, and it has a job to do to protect the right to life of all its citizens. Michael Brown, just like the little boy who was killed in the park in Cleveland, Ohio, had a right to life. And it is not being protected by Missouri. His right to life means nothing to those people in Missouri. But Missouri is not some island unto itself. It is a state in the United States, and ultimately the United States is responsible for everyone's civil and human rights. So it's time now to just turn your attention away from those police, militarized police, and all of those National Guardsmen and all that mess in Missouri. Turn your eyes toward President Barack Obama and his Department of Justice Attorney General Holder and tell them that Officer Wilson was a government employee. He was not like Zimmerman, who was not a government employee. He is a government employee. And what he did under the color of law. So therefore, we demand a federal trial. We demand that federal charges be levied against Wilson and that he face his crimes in federal court. It's time out for marching and facing danger in Ferguson, because that's useless, and all it could possibly do is go against you. So instead of that, we need to demand a federal prosecution against Wilson, and we need to back that up with a boycott for justice. Listen, these decision makers don't care anything about marching. If they cared about marching and singing and petitions, Troy Davis would be sitting here with me now drinking some iced tea. If they cared about marches and petitions, they don't care about that. It's time out for all of that. It's time to keep your money in your pocket. African Americans will make $1.1 trillion by the year 2016, 1.1 trillion. And we spend that money as fast as it comes in. Let's show them who we are. We are the constituents. We are the consumers. We don't have to be your consumers. We can just stay home. You want us to stay home? Well, guess what? We're staying home from Friday until Monday, and then we're going to stay home after that throughout Christmas. How's that? So we need to say, okay, we'll stay home, and we need to press these people in Washington, D.C. to do the same for Michael Brown that they did in California when the police were released after beating the man out there. After they beat him and they were acquitted, they did not indict the policeman. The Fed stepped in and they indicted them. We need the same action here, and we're not going to get it by running around in the street in Ferguson. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Listen, if you just tuned in, you come center stage tonight. Just a second. If you just tuned in, you come center stage tonight. We're talking about the topic, the Mike Brown grand jury decision, which has just come in, and we understand that they are not going to indict Officer Darren Wilson. Get on the phone lines. Call us up at 347-850-8390. Would love to hear what you think of the Mike Brown grand jury decision. Also, the chat room is open tonight. AJ, Christopher, and anyone else who'd like to go into the chat room and chat about what's going on. If you're too shy to call in, send me something in the chat room, and I will definitely put it out here on the air tonight. Also, Global Political Awakening, I came to you. I called you out several times, and you did not answer. We're going to come to you next, 214-926. Good evening. You're on center stage. That's 214-926. Good evening. You're on center stage.
Good evening. So my question is, my first statement is, where's my DC sniper when we need him? And my question to your panel is, at what point do we call for the heads of all that are involved? You know, the marching is great. I think that we need that. I think we need the boycotting. I think we need the Martin Luther Kings and the everybody else who want to make their political speech. But at what point do we call for the heads, and I mean literally call for the heads of all that are involved in killing our boys, our black men, and I'm not just going to necessarily say black men, men in general. Men in this country have been emasculated, and we're continuing to. Our lives is being proven every day that the value of our lives is in the negative. It's in the red. And if the people do not value our lives, when do we call for the heads of those that are trying to eliminate us and exterminate us? And this is a question to your audience. I mean, not to your audience, to your panel.
Okay, panel, y'all heard that.
Okay. Well, Kheri, you know what? First off, I will say this: I believe the initial way to deal or call for the heads and call for individuals that are responsible, not only in Michael Brown's case, but in cases across the country. The things that we deal with, the Bible says that it's the little fox that spoils the vine. So what you actually have is that you have cases that lead up to cops being cocky enough to then go ahead and outright murder somebody. When you have cases where cops have no probable cause, yet they arrest an individual, we have to have an inroads, and we have to have some kind of system and organization to know where those kind of cases going on so we can jump on it from that moment. When we have cases of wrongful arrest, wrongful incarceration, we got to jump on it at that moment. And then I will dare say you will stave off the police then killing our precious brothers and sisters in the street and murdering them. But I believe that when you get cases like Trayvon Martin or like Michael Brown, it is usually, and I'm not saying all, and I'm not generalizing or stereotyping everybody, but by and large, it is because the black community has let those small crimes or alleged crimes and cases against police officers fall through the cracks. So much so, then they get tired and they smell themselves, and then they feel, well, you're not doing anything about this. I ran this young man, and he really didn't steal anything, but we planted some stuff when we said. So when we get those cases, we got to be like a bloodhound on a stank trail. We have to address those cases as well. It is a good thing. What we can do is take this particular case, and I agree with Mary Neal, because I'm telling you, if we don't do something and raise our voices and put petitions together specifically demanding the Department of Justice come in and do a federal investigation, they're going to do a cursory review and they're going to drop it. So I think that's the one thing we have to do. Unite, organize, and then we have to put some of these demands in writing, and then we then have to basically push it to those organizations. And then when we want to have people like Mr. McCullough, it's not, yes, we need to vote, but then we need to be petitioning to basically not ask him to step down, demand that he steps down. So I think those are some of the ways we have to start from the other cases too, because those usually are cases that that are the lesser cases. Those are the ones that if we don't get on, that's why we end up having people basically executed by the police, because they take it for granted that they can do more than just what they were doing before.
Well, historically,
and all
I was going to say, go ahead.
No,
yeah, I'll kind of jump in here real quick, but I'll let him go first.
Now, I was going to say, historically in America, what's happened is that as long as there's only one person to file the charges, so that's why there's so many deaths, because when there's only one story, they can change the story, and what comes out to the media is the only story they want to hear. But what we actually need is we need to change the laws, because I really believe that whenever there's a case such as this in any state or any municipality, there should be a trial. There should be all the information put forward. And what we have now is we have where it's always been a good boy system. I'm saying just like in Texas, that's the reason we celebrate June 19th, because we let things go, and we celebrate it as though it's a holiday. And most people know what June 19th is, you know. But my thing is, historically, when there's only one story, they can change it to fit whatever they want to say, because we're not in any of the higher positions to actually be able to tell any parts of the story or to make sure the story is the truth.
I agree. Daniel, you were going to say?
So, yeah, sure. I want to touch on a couple of things mentioned before, and I want to directly answer your question, caller, because I think it was a really good one. A couple of things I want to address before. Number one, I am watching several live streams right now, and some of them are up, some of them are down, but they're pretty much up overall. And I know the Ferguson cell towers have had trouble in the past. It's a small community. They really didn't put that much money in the towers, and you've got every media source on the face of the planet streaming out of there. So I want to kind of address that. Also, as far as going to the Department of Justice, pardon my cynicism if I don't trust a Department of Justice that not only defends police shootings and has done so in the past, but also argues for the execution of Arab Americans abroad and here at home. That being said, I want to address your question because I think it's a very, very good question. The concern is kind of framed that, okay, well, at what point do we eventually ask for these people's heads? At what point, so you kind of frame it as a timeline. So we're going to protest, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and eventually we're going to lead to this. I would argue that it's not, and this is the attitude in a lot of communities. We saw it with the American Revolution. We saw it with the Bolivian Revolution. We saw it with all throughout history, is the people there viewed as a timeline. Well, if this doesn't happen, then the last resort's always violence. Last resort's always revolution. And I would challenge you to look at the difference between a government employee shooting one of your own and a revolutionary shooting one of theirs. There is none. They are the exact same thing. Why? Because the difference between the government and the mafia is the government is viewed as legitimate. And the difference between a revolution and a armed murder or armed manslaughter is the revolution is viewed as legitimate. So let me answer your question. When do you call for their heads? When you want your children to always have an exception to the do not murder rule. When you are okay with bringing up your kids that if you are for a certain cause or you wear a certain badge or you fight for a certain thing, if you are in this particular little collective that the moral rules do not apply to you, you can kill, you can steal, whether we give you a badge or whether we give you a flag or whether we give you whatever symbol you want. When you want your kids and your grandkids to continue growing up with the idea that murdering another human being is okay because they are of a different collective than you, that is when you turn to violence. Because when you turn to violence, you may be cutting down the root or you may be cutting down the tree, and you may be salting the root, but you'll be spreading the seeds of exactly what this police epidemic is about. And it's when I give you a badge and when I give you a gun and I put you in a collective, and it's okay for you to commit more violence than somebody else. If we do not hit at the root of that problem, we may win for one generation or a generation and a half. But eventually, those seeds will come back to bite us, and our grandchildren or our great-grandchildren will face worse than we have because we were not strong enough to resist becoming like the people we fight.
I agree. Caller, does that answer your question?
It does, but I will say this, and I can say this with certainty. That's great. That's some good advice, but we losing right now, and we need a win. We need a tally on our side. We need a notch on our belt because we bleeding and we are losing, and we need to fight back, and we need answers, and I mean we need answers now. We don't need tomorrow. We don't need to wait till tomorrow. We need action right now. And I'll say this, until I'm blue in the face. We need all of our trained DC snipers ready and to be called on to take action, because it is time out for this foolishness that is existing amongst each and every last one of us. I'll share this with you, and I'll share it over and over again. When my child comes to your door bleeding and you call the police as though he's breaking into your house, but if a damn mutt come to your house whimping, you open the door and invite the damn dog in. I have a problem with that.
You asked a question of me. I would like to ask a question back of you, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Okay.
The question is, you said that you need a notch in your belt. You said you need a win. Let me ask this question. How is taking one of their heads and perpetuating the cycle of violence that you yourself have been subjected to a win?
It's a win for the people. It's not an individual.
How?
It's not an individual.
How? Explain.
Win. It's a win for the people. See, the psychological effect of winning versus losing is much greater than just killing one. But if you give the illusion that we at least got one of theirs for one of ours, then there's hope. See, this is the concept that Christianity brings to the common man, to the poor man. It brings hope where there is no hope. And right now, we praying and we praying and we praying, and we not seeing any outcome. We're not seeing the blessing.
Let me see if I can mirror what I think the caller is saying. In slavery time, you could take one white man and he could control 100 slaves. So many people today would wonder, how could one white man control 100 black men? Well, it was the fact that I guess when one got out of line, he openly rebuked him by cutting his foot off or blowing his brains out or beating him, unconscious, to the point that the rest were in fear of doing anything else. Does that make sense? Am I understanding that's where you're going with that, caller?
That is correct.
Well, Willie Lynch is actually the one who said that. And Willie Lynch said that you pit them against their own kind. You pick out the flaws in each one of them, and then you can turn, masses against that person. And as long as they didn't have unity, it would be easier to keep them under their thumb. And you see that a lot, just even in today's society. But he said if you could learn to do that, you could keep them under control for 300 years. And just recently, like within the last maybe 5, we've come up on 300 years approximately that he actually said that.
Wow. Okay, we're going to go back.
It brings to mind.
Go ahead.
I'll say this one last thing and kind of leave it at that. It brings to mind something interesting, and that is the Oklahoma City bomber. The Oklahoma City bomber was one of the few that we know for sure went in with a purpose. He went in to spread a message. He went in to procure a win, so to speak, for his people. He went in to get a notch on their belt. He went in for the militia movement, and he targeted someone. You brought up the slave example. Self-defense is self-defense. If someone personally came after you, you have the right to defend yourself in every way, shape, and form. However, when he took out an IRS building full of agents, yes, those agents had stolen from people, and yes, those people have harmed others. Did they directly harm him? Could he point out one of them that directly harmed him? Could he point out all 30 that he killed that directly harmed him? I don't think he could. And what he did was not put a notch in the belt, not procure a win for the movement, but procure an eternal suspicion of the militia, who used to be well respected before his bombing. And now when you say the word militia, mothers are scared, they don't want their children around that. The word militia is kind of a avoided word at most costs in most communities in the country. So what he did in the end, though he provided maybe for himself and a few of his radicals a psychological win, in the end he ruined the public perception of his own cause, and I would argue that he lost the greater war.
Wow. Let's if you just tuned in. You've come to the stage tonight. We're talking about the topic, the Mike Brown grand jury decision, which we all know now Officer Darren Wilson will not be indicted. If you have a question or a comment or like to just chime in on tonight's topic, call us up at 347-850-8390. And then press 1 once you're connected. Again, the number is 347-850-8390. Then press 1 once you're connected. And if you're listening via the Internet, the number is at the top of your screen. Also, we're waiting for another to call in tonight. I spoke with him earlier today. He confirmed he'd be with us, but we do know that he is in the streets of Ferguson and protesting among the protesters, which I'm sure is kind of crazy out there. But if somebody in the group, Anonymous, would get on the phone and call your leader, Mr. Alex Poucher, and tell him to get on the phone. We're waiting on him. We were anticipating his call about 9 o'clock, so if somebody would do that for me, I definitely would appreciate it. Okay, we're going to go back to Global Political Awakening. Good evening.
Kheri, if he is he's at the protest and he was going to call you from being there, there's been a lot of unrest going on, rubber bullets being shot off, a police car vandalized, tear gas being thrown on several occasions. So he might be tied up.
Wait, this has already happened tonight?
Yeah, already.
Yeah, I can concur with that. It is. I've been keeping up with some of the live streams, and there's quite a bit going down. I'm glad that Daniel cleared it up a moment ago about the possibility that the government had shut down all of the live streaming and communications, and so I'm glad you cleared that up. But yeah, there is some stuff going on the ground. I wanted to also say that wasn't me earlier. I was muted. Nonetheless, I'm enjoying myself so much, Kheri. Thank you so much. There is not another radio station or television show or anything anywhere on this planet that does what you do. And the intelligent perspective, I want to thank AJ, Christopher, Daniel, Mary Neal, each of the callers. They're all so brilliant and intelligent and thoughtful and thought-provoking. I don't know that I could offer anything more, just to say thank you.
Thank you. Listen, y'all, I am fearful for the protesters out there tonight. I mean, we know that one of the hospitals up there earlier in the week cleared 3 floors. They said 1 floor is going to be for injured police officers. The 2nd floor was going to be for injured protesters. And the 3rd floor was going to be for the family of injured police officers. So, y'all, they were planning for war early on. We're talking about, you got Homeland Security, you got the FBI, you got private contractors in there. You got the National Guard. You got law enforcement agencies from all the surrounding areas. Is it even safe to be out there tonight, y'all? My answer is no. If I was anywhere in the Ferguson area, the last place I think I'd be tonight would be on the street. I mean, just for fear of safety, for fear of the unknown, for fear of being among provocateurs and agitators and God knows what else. I mean, and double agents, because the way I'm looking at it, you got 2 sides. You got the police on one side and you got the protesters on the other side. Well, the problem with being a protester is you don't know who the hell is next to you. So if the person next to you takes and throws a pipe bomb at the police, all hell breaks loose in your section and you could have had nothing to do with it. So that's why I fear for the protesters tonight, because they don't know who is amongst them. Would anybody else agree with me on that it's a scary time to be on the streets of Ferguson tonight?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. There's been protests on the March where you have infiltrators that would be caught and you wouldn't even know it, and you'd be standing right next to them.
Okay, Heather, I think you have I think you have your phone and your computer going.
Muted. No, my computer's muted.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. So they're intercepting your phone like that. And tonight, y'all, my heart is heavy for those who, this whole experience has just bubbled over for them to the point that they took to the streets because they felt like they had no other recourse. And I agree with Mary Neal. They have been effective in what they were doing. They got the attention of the world. But I think at this point, when you got people pointing automatic weapons at you and tear gas at you and rubber bullets at you and dogs and everything else, I don't know, y'all. That's a dangerous place to be. I mean, that's a war zone. And I'm sorry.
And Kheri, I was going to say, in terms of that, I mean, you're absolutely right. In a lot of cases, the generational and the changing of times and modernization, you may have to change your approach to get the same thing done. For instance, the rebellion and the revolt of Nat Turner and the planning that Denmark Vesey did before his revolt was found out and he was hung, and then John Brown and Harper's Ferry. Well, at that time, some of the things that we're trying to do in terms of economic boycott wouldn't have worked because folks were slaves, so that wasn't going to help black folks. But it was mainly those 3 things that were the catalyst that forced the government's hand in terms of abolishing slavery. See, slavery eventually, more than likely, would have been abolished at some further point. But because black folks started killing white folks, when white folks had already been killing black folks, white America became fearful. And then the government became fearful because they thought there were going to be other pockets, which there would have been, in revolting and uprising of slaves killing their slave masters. So that was the catalyst. It wasn't Lincoln being so sympathetic and compassionate. It was a political move. Now, fast forwarding to today, I agree with you. The advent of us trying to outgun, outman, outshoot the authorities is a moot point because they'll always have more firearms and so forth than us. So I think we need to move towards a smarter and a more productive methodology, and that would be economic rebellion and economic revolt. See, that would be a start. I'm sure there's other things on the table, but we don't need to lift guns. We don't need to have a militia per se and fight the authorities. We need to fight them where it's going to bring them to their knees and also to the table. And if we start doing some things like Mary Neal had said with that $1.1 trillion, which, by the way, if the 43 million folks in America were a country, we'd be number 15 just with that amount of money alone. So we need to work on doing a modern-day economic rebellion and revolt.
And y'all, I agree 13% of anything can be powerful if used correctly.
That's my phone. I was getting ready to say something. I'm actually driving, so I had to go pick my son up. But I was going to say that's what really affected apartheid. It's when they started picking all the companies that were investing in the apartheid system and started boycotting those companies, and they said it was losing so much money, so they had to divest.
But and y'all listen, I'm gonna be real. This Christmas, I don't want nothing, and I'm not giving nothing because I don't want nobody spending a dime to put anything into this economy. So
Kheri,
as far as I'm concerned, Black Friday don't exist for me. Christmas shopping don't exist for me.
Kheri, if I may, yeah, I agree completely. We've got to come out of this system. We've got to withdraw from it. And one of the best ways to do that is to quit giving your energy and your money. Money is a form of energy. And stop giving our energy to this system. The system is already dying. You know, economic collapse is right around the corner. But if we're smart and we spend our money with those businesses and with each other in a way that we can build one another up financially and otherwise, then we can maintain strength. And there's a lot of people that are doing great things across the nation. Here in Arkansas, we're actually developing what's called fair markets. We're introducing an alternative currency, and we're making it so that people that are tired of this corrupt system can sustain themselves when things really get bad, because they will get bad, and they will get bad very soon.
You know what Mark just said is an excellent point. Y'all, we need to create a bartering system. I mean, seriously. And figure out how to shut this system down, because all of us have skill sets, all of us, and we need to figure out how to use our skill sets as currency and move that around and shut the money system down in this country. I'm just going to put that out there. We're going to go to 708-717. I'm not sure if I went to you already. Good evening, you're on Center Stage. 708-717.
Yes, I'm back. It's Dino Kheri, and I've been listening to the conversation, and wonderful ideas. The boycott's a great idea. The barter system is a great idea. But I just want to ask anybody that's a part of this conversation tonight, can anybody give a specific example where a group of people boycotted their way to freedom and not having the police shoot and kill them in the street? I mean, it sounds good on paper. It sounds good saying it. But realistically, does anybody have that example? I can't think of an example. Perhaps when there's the boycott of the bus. Bus is back in the 50s, I believe. But collectively, where a group of oppressed people boycotted their way to justice. I can't think of it. I can't think of the example of where a group of oppressed people even voted their way to justice. I can't think of one example. And there was a gentleman that was speaking about the apartheid system, and he talked about how the corporations got picked apart. If you really analyze it closely, and please don't think I'm being radical, I'm just being realistic and stating facts. The people of South Africa, the Africans, the black Africans, they were fighting the government. Why do you think Nelson Mandela got locked away? They were fighting the government with might. Now, I know that we are outgunned and outmanned at this particular time. All I'm going to say is this. For us to ever truly get freedom in this country and get some true resolution to the racial conflict, there's going to be violence. It's going to happen. It may not happen today. It may not happen tomorrow. It may happen 50 years from now. But mark my word, only the strong survive. And in this particular paradigm in which we live, violence begets violence. And the one that's the most violent and organized and strategic and a good tactician of war will be the winner. Unfortunately, there's going to be many casualties in the war. But ultimately, that's what it's going to take. Because I promise you, nobody's going to boycott. I promise you. Nobody's going to vote anybody out of office. I promise you it's not going to happen.
Don't put that
but maybe 50 years from now, I mean.
You know what? No, I'm going to go here. I'm going to disagree with you for this reason. First of all, you got to get tired of being tired. And if anybody looked at what I saw tonight on that television set and watched that DA, someone who's sworn to do a job to bring law to an area, and I'm not sure exactly what the definition of an attorney general is, but I know that he's supposed to be somebody that's fair and honest and can be trusted to uphold the law. And I just saw Bob McCullough, the DA, down there in the Ferguson area, get on national television and lie about something the police chief said early on didn't happen. So do they have a problem down there in Ferguson? Absolutely, y'all. I mean, I'm sorry. That's crazy, Dino. You know what? Black folks got to get tired of being tired. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I'm going to call anybody I know to the rug if they tell me anything about going to anybody's mall talking about shopping for Christmas. If you are black in America and can go into the mall for the Christmas holiday, something is wrong with your head. I mean, I'm just sorry. It needs to be examined.
Kheri, may I just interject just briefly? And I agree with what you're saying. We shouldn't be in the malls. We shouldn't participate with Black Friday. But it's going to happen. I'm telling you. It's going to go down.
You know what? Just like you know what? When a company goes on strike and the workers on the picket line and they see somebody crossing the picket line, they call that scab out. I'm sorry, we're gonna call them scabs if they go into the malls over the holidays, y'all. Call the scabs out and let them know.
Kheri, it's going to be a whole bunch of scabs, sister. I'm sorry to tell you that. It's going to be a whole bunch of them. And sad to say, my wife's probably going to be one of them. I'll keep it 100 with you. She going shopping Black Friday. I'm telling you what I know. However, there was a gentleman that said something. And let me just get this point across, and I give you the floor back on your own show. Ain't that nice of me? I'm just crazy. However, there was a gentleman that stated a bit early in the conversation that this system is about to fall economically. That's and remember what I tell you. No superpower has ever stayed on top forever. History will bear witness to what I say. When America crumbles, who's going to be in position to take over? That's all I got to say.
Well, y'all, this is an excellent time to get on the border and system because the dollar could collapse. We're going to go to area code 817-729. Good evening. Again, you're on to the stage. Hello.
Yes, how you doing this evening, everybody? This is Prince Pierre from Facebook out of Fort Worth, Texas. I don't ask me where I'm from because I'm just a fucking town reside. I've been all over the city, living all over. But the bottom line is I'm not surprised. The bottom line is that we got to understand something. You can go to Black Friday, go to the real Black Friday, and spend your money with black folks. Get on. You got Facebook cats like RBG Mentality, guys selling T-shirts and everything. Buy from them. Yeah. You got to buy your kids some clothes. Buy from them. You got to spend your money. Buy with them. Buy the Pan-African cat over there with the Pan-African design. Buy from them. They online. They all on the Facebook. You want to get some shoes from all them cats. Buy from the Melanated Nation if you want to buy. Buy from Tariq Nasheed. Buy from buy from Floyd Mayweather. Buy his stuff. Buy everything black. So you want your hats, you want all that. So I'm just saying, if you want to, that's if you got, because people gonna spend their money on Black Friday. So go just buy Black Friday. Ain't no boycott, like they said on the boycott. It wasn't about boycotting your own bus. Why didn't you get your own bus? Why didn't you get your own buses? So all the folks had to walk. Why didn't you get your own buses? We got to get our own stuff.
Yeah. I agree.
Like down there with the Haru Academy down there, I'm down with Baba Amin and the Lone Star RBGs with the Haru Academy. I put money down on that sucker. I participate. I buy the CDs from the A-Waxes and the RBGs and the Big Sheds. I put my money in black. That's what I do, and that's what we got to do. Hell with this system. This system ain't for us, ain't meant for us. The Constitution was broke. What the hell was black folks doing when the Constitution was constructed? You was a damn slave. Either you was a field Negro, a yard Negro, or a house Negro. That's what you was. And that's what the white man gonna think that you is until you go. I don't care who he is. It ain't none of these guys. I ain't down with no Democrats. I ain't down with no Republicans. They all got agendas. One side is co-signing homosexuality, other side is co-signing doggone bigotry. They all on that garbage. They eat and break bread together. They gonna protect each other, and I ain't down with none of them. I am RBG. I am a Garveyite. I breathe this here. I love African women only. I love African. Period. I don't have time with this immigration stuff because it don't do nothing for us. Everybody knows, and on top of this is the same state that had the Dred Scott case. And you thought that these suckers in that state, if them two in that state in Florida, this Florida drug it out and got the money. Missouri don't care about no dollar because they straight up racist, white supremacy. Negro, get out of here. We don't give a damn about you. That's what it is. We got to get real with it and understand it. And understand this here, that it's all about Garveyism, it's all about being in the 21st century Garveyite, is building institutions. Bill Cosby should have took his $5 million to his fellow Philadelphian and helped them get the Marcus Garvey Frederick Douglass School for Boys. That's why. What you doing, fool? You got people around these fools, these athletes sitting around in here, ain't putting no money down, building these recreation centers for what? A kid don't need to go to no damn recreation center to play no ball. He take his ass on the street. The Dominican Republic, they play stickball and shit. They come over here and knock home runs out. Man, build educational institutions, and then we can develop.
Thank you, caller. We're going to have to get some more calls. Thank you. His energy woke me up. I don't know what it did for you. We can go to 314-853. Good evening. You're on Center Stage.
How you doing? It's me again.
So good evening, Osama. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. You know, just looking at this and all the days that people have been going through this, and I'll ask you, is it possible for people, or could they do people to file a lawsuit against the state of Missouri? People been under so much stress and going through all of this. they've been going through this. Is it possible that could happen, that people could file a lawsuit against the state of Missouri? Because this is really stressful.
You know what?
I mean,
I'm gonna give you the I'm gonna take your number down, and I'm gonna call you off the air tomorrow, and I'm gonna give you a number for an attorney who could answer that question. And he's a very good attorney, and he's already filed He's already filed a lawsuit with some stuff that went down in Ferguson already, and I'm gonna give you his number, and I'm going to see if that can happen, because I agree with you. I think you guys were put under all kind of unnecessary stress,
trauma.
And you're going to continue to for a while, because those protests aren't going to go away anytime soon.
No, I know, and it's really sad. I mean, how can they say anything about what I don't care about Christmas, but look at the children gonna have to go through this. Look at Thanksgiving; they'll never have a Thanksgiving this year. With what's going on here,
you got a point.
And that is really stressful. And I don't know if you know anything about the Ellen Reasonova case in St. Louis.
Yeah.
When Buzz Westphal, they lied. Now, this is the prosecuting attorney lied on that girl. If it had not been for one juror, that girl would have been dead right today. She stayed in jail for 17 years, and they found out that the prosecuting attorney lied on. He's dead now, and that's good. But he's dead now. But if you look up that Ellen Reasonova case and check, we going right back through the Emmett Till's case. It's no different. This country was not set up. Huh?
Okay, let me ask you a question. Are you in Ferguson or Jennings or somewhere real close to Ferguson?
I'm right next to it. I'm right in the. What's
happening in the streets down there right now?
They done set a car on fire. It's burning in the middle of the street now, and they shooting. I don't know. They say it's just smoke bombs, but I think it's tear gas that they shooting, and they backing them up. They on South Florissant right now in Ferguson. I know exactly where they are, but it's just a shame what's going on, and I don't think this thing is gonna go away. And the black police, this is what I can't understand either. They talk about, I just got off the radio talking to somebody, the fella was talking about there's some good policemen out there. I told him there's no such thing as a good policeman, because I talked to 4 police, and they were saying that you wasn't there and I wasn't there, so I don't know what. They know exactly what's going on, and they don't want to open their mouth because their job is on the line to say anything. See, you have to know before you. Huh?
That blue blood runs deep.
Right. And you have to know before you go. If I wouldn't want to be a policeman, because I wouldn't want to turn my back on my own people like that. You know if that was. What you say?
I'll tell you where I feel right now. I feel like that's probably the worst profession in the world right now. Because, to be honest with you, the world is distrustful now of police officers. And if there is one good one left out there, I even pity him, because, you know what, you got to win the trust back of the people, and I don't think that's going to happen in my lifetime. I think that you can shoot me down in the street, there could be 100 witnesses, and whatever the officer says happened is going to be the official story.
Hey, Sister Kheri.
Mm-hmm.
Kheri, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I would say we need our police officers, and I don't want people to think that the police officers, that we don't have police officers out there who are standing up for the people. See, we got some serious idiots out here that exist in this country that we live in, and I'm thankful for the police officers that have the courage, that's willing to stand up and address these idiots. But by the same token, we need the police officers that's on the inside that can take care
of the idiots that can stand up and take care of them idiots that's next, the good old boy that's next to him, or they quote unquote they brother. See,
but let me ask you.
They're outnumbered. I think the bad ones outnumber the good ones. I really do. I mean, in the Fort Worth Police Department down recently, they were putting nooses on the desk. I mean, on the desk of black officers. I mean, they, I don't know. I think the bad ones outweigh the good.
Just like you're responsible, just like you should be held responsible for your children and taking care of them bad seeds that exist in your own family. See, the police department needs to be held to the same accountability. See, my father always told me that, and I believe this. Now, whether or not it was true or not, I believed it. I brought you into this world, and I take you out. Now, I'm saying that to say he was not going to allow me to disrespect his family nor his name. Well, the quote-unquote, what do you call, not the DA department, the people who investigate the police department, the police officers.
Internal affairs?
Internal affairs, they're not doing their due diligence.
No. Well, let me ask that caller.
We need the real police officers to stand up and take care of the situation. That's what they got to do.
Let me ask that caller. Would you want to be a policeman knowing what's going on?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You would.
I would be a proud police officer to take care and to protect the elderly, the young, and the hard-working people in the community that I live in. Absolutely, I would. I would develop a relationship.
And you know what? You would.
Let me speak.
I sit here and listen to you, and you sound like when you talk about you going. Do you know how racism run in the police department? You wouldn't be that far if anything. Look at Malcolm X. Look at Megan Evers. Anytime you try to do something right, they're gonna go against you.
Hey, brother,
so know before you go.
See, you gotta infiltrate. You gotta infiltrate until you get to the position where you can make decisions and change things. That's what we gotta do. We gotta infiltrate.
Tell that to Malcolm X. Tell that to Megan Evers and Malcolm X. Tell that to them. They tried. They stood up.
I don't adhere to one leader. I adhere to.
No, it wasn't one leader. It was the truth. You talking about a leader? What did you think about Malcolm X?
Excuse me. I'd like to say something really quick. Is that I'm sitting here watching. I'm sitting here watching the live. I'm watching CNN, and this isn't about, these leaders are not about Mike Brown, and I'm going to tell you the proof is that right now I'm watching a bunch of people loot and rob a liquor store that has hands up. So they're advertising that they're Michael Brown supporters, and they're still getting looted. It has nothing to do with Michael Brown for them doing that. That group of people are in it for the opportunity, not for the justice.
Right. Well, there's a lot of those people out there that are probably agent provocateurs as well. So let's be sure that we point that out.
I agree with that.
Exactly.
What about the Ku Klux Klan?
I think the march is going just like the radio show. We have a lot of people that are optimistic about the situation, but they have pessimistic tendencies.
But did anybody do anything about? Have you I guess you all checked out Live Like Wall Street, right?
Guess what?
Yeah, I did.
Do you know anything about Live Like Wall Street?
Y'all, I have not forgotten about you. 314-830. I'm coming to you next. Okay, y'all, we got to go to 314-830. Can y'all put that on hold until I pick up this call? 314-830. Good evening. You're on Center Stage.
Thank you. I've been sitting on my hands. First and foremost, I'm here in North County, and I'm been involved at the very beginning, and I can tell you a couple of things that can happen immediately. First off, screw Black Friday. It's called a blackout. When the NAACP, the Urban League, MOCAN and other organizations that are here in St. Louis sent out an announcement to all of their members, their board members, all of their associates, and all their constituents that we're going to do a blackout starting now all the way up until January 3rd,
there you
blackout.
Go.
When you say
Excellent.
blackout, I'm talking about don't go buy the turkey. I'm talking about buy absolutely nothing. And then schedule with the media to promote the blackout. Now, I'm going to go you one further. I actually know police officers, and I work with certain individuals, and I know things. And I'm going to tell you, if you want to change, you have to develop a school. Because first off, you got to be prepared 3 years in advance to be a police officer here. They recruit their friends, and they train their friends. There's certain things you have to do in order to become a police officer. But if you develop a training program where you militarize your own recruits, when they can pass the test, when there's no reason outside of a civil rights lawsuit to deny them, then you infiltrate it. Now, you talk about infiltration. There are police officers who were good, who were intimidated and bullied and were set up and were prosecuted for things that they didn't do. There are police officers in our region. We have predominantly African-American cities that are run by African-Americans and policed by African-Americans. So it does exist. They're small municipalities, but it does exist. Now, with regards to violence, to be honest with you, violence was relevant before technology. But, honey, let me explain something to you. You shut the money down, everybody's going to notice you. The difference is that you have to develop a strategic economic plan. You call, and I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to call around. I'm going to say, I don't want service for 30 days for my cable.
Ooh,
I'm going to tell you what I'm talking about. Picking up the phone and saying, and why is that? I'm on a blackout. See you in January. I am going to call my associates. And I'm going to tell you a couple of things. All you need to do is call all of your board members. Everybody on this panel, I guarantee you, it's about 700 and some people. I guarantee you, if you decide that you're going to call all your associates, and I'm sure some people are on the board of the NAACP and the Urban League on the phone now. If you are serious, call it. Make it a united front for real. I guarantee you the federal government will step in. That's all I have to say.
Hey, give a website or somewhere where someone can go to really find out more about what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, caller, we need to follow you. Who are you?
Yeah, what's your name? What do we call you?
I'll tell you what. Right, we will talk offline. I cannot reveal my name.
Okay.
I can just say I'm privy to other information that other people aren't.
Are you following me on Facebook already?
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. Okay. Listen, y'all follow me on Facebook because there's going to be some very interesting conversations after this show. Trust me. We are going to organize. You know what, y'all? Listen, it's now or never. It's just that simple. It's now or never. I mean, the cards are stacked against us because people have been planning for decades how to do this, and we did not see it coming. But I be darned, I can see what's going on. I can read the tea leaves. This is going to continue unless we put our foot down. I mean,
Kheri,
they're shooting 12-year-olds in the street of the park for playing with a BB gun or whatever that gun was he had. I'm sorry, y'all. That tells you the fix is in. And nobody ever goes to jail. Nobody goes to jail. Nobody goes to jail.
I want to just say this one last thing, and I'm going to mute out and enjoy the rest of the show. But, the issue of taking the legal route was brought up. And what this lady just presented to us is a major part of the solution. But the legal system, the entire legal system is a complete fraud. You're not going to find a solution within this legal system that we have. And so, to learn more about how it's a fraud, just go to losethename.com. You can learn all about it. But just know that the legal system, as it is so corrupt to its core, it's a complete fraud.
I agree. I absolutely agree. Listen, y'all, we're down to our last 25 minutes in the show. If you want to chime in tonight, dial us up at 347-850-8390, then press 1. Again, we're down to our last 25 minutes of the show. If you want to chime in, dial in at 347-858-8390. Listen, the St. Louis area, y'all, is on fire. I mean, literally, there's no telling what's going to happen by daybreak. I mean, under the cover of darkness, you know, I'm just here. Tear gas is already being shot at the people or thrown at the people. We're here. We got hospitals on standby waiting for casualties or whatever else is going to occur tonight. Listen, y'all, it's prayer time. I mean, it's prayer time and it's organizing time because this is ugly. I mean, and when you get through, I don't know if I saw this coming. Even when Mike Brown was shot down, I didn't understand why his body laid in the street for 4.5 hours, but now it's kind of all coming together to me. It's kind of coming together to me that they are trying to set something off, and it started from the day that they shot him to now. I mean, everything. Someone said today on MSNBC, and I have to agree, this is a classic textbook case of what not to do. The government response to Mike Brown let us down. The local leadership response to Mike Brown let us down. The law enforcement response to Mike Brown let us down. From the beginning, this has been a setup. And the thing is, we have the chance to turn it around. And I said this on Facebook earlier this week. We have a chance to turn this around. We can turn lemons into lemonade. It ain't too late. If we decide we're going to take our communities back and start policing our own communities because we know we'll be safer there, we got to start mentoring our youth. We got to let them know that they are targets, and they got to change their behavior so that they won't be an easy target or a soft target. There's so much work we can do if we just come together and turn our hoods into communities again. Know who our neighbors are. Patrol our own streets. You know, we got to demand more from our local government. And when we see these bad cops on the street, before they kill somebody, contact the city management, contact your city mayor, contact those in leadership in the city and put all kind of paper on that joker and let them know this joker is a problem. And before he kills somebody, y'all need to get him off the street. Because you can't trust internal affairs to get him off the street. But the police department is hired by the city. The city is over the police department. Put paper on a bad police chief. Put paper on a bad police officer. That's the only way you're going to get them off the street. And don't take it to internal affairs because that don't work. That you can CC internal affairs, but don't expect internal affairs to fix the problem. Take it to your city leadership. Would anybody agree with that?
Yes, because internal affairs is internal affairs, just like any independent police review board, they're mainly cops, investigating cops. And 9 times out of 10, they usually know one another, and the case is going to come back unfounded. Cops rarely tell on cops. So people understand that about these committees and boards. When you're submitting these formal, informal complaints, it's one cop investigating another cop.
Yes. I mean, and that's the sad part about it. It's like you go in and you give them all the details of what happened, and they do just like what Bob McCullough just did. They take and flip everything you said. Did anybody pay attention to how he described the eyewitness account? Everything was a misstatement. Everything was they recanted, or everything was somehow they didn't see what they thought they saw. Did anybody catch that with me?
Yeah, we caught it. I caught it. Yeah, I caught it.
How can 15 people say the same thing but they didn't see it?
But Miss Kheri, are you listening to me?
Yes,
are you listening?
I'm
okay.
listening.
Where are we gonna get the power to turn this thing around? Where is that gonna come from?
Prayer.
Huh?
First of all, prayer. Second of all,
prayer.
Strategic plan.
Come on, Miss Kheri.
Oh no. Listen,
come on, Miss.
My atheist friends, I don't know tonight. Listen.
Hey, Miss Kheri, what was all of these this Jesus when they was hanging Negroes for years, castrate them and all that? What was all this religion at then?
But you know what? First of all,
no. What was it at then? Where was it at then?
You know what?
No, Kheri, don't want to answer that.
Kheri, we can talk offline if you like to, and I'll be more than glad to answer that question for you, and we can dialogue on that.
No, why don't you answer it now?
No, because we want to keep this on topic. And
we on topic. I just asked a question. Can you answer that question?
It would take me a little while, and we don't have that kind of time. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's not your show, number one. I was asking her.
He's the co-host.
Sir, I'm a co-host. So
I don't care if you're a co-ghost.
Sir, I'm sorry you feel that way. The bottom line is...
No, it ain't no... And you talk about coming... How can we...
Oh, Tamer, that's the co-host. You can't talk to the co-host like that.
Go ahead,
So, go ahead.
No. We don't. All we're saying is we don't want to get off topic tonight. You asked how do we fix this, and that was one of my solutions. But if we go into is there a Jesus versus is there not a Jesus, then we're going to completely take this conversation somewhere else. And it's just 20 minutes left in the show. What we want to do is focus on the fact that the Mike Brown grand jury decision is back. And they said that they're not going to indict Officer Darren Wilson. And per Mary Neal earlier today, Darren Wilson said he wanted to resign, and they told him that they didn't want him to. So I say good luck to the Ferguson Police Department. Anybody want to ride with Officer Darren Wilson? I don't know. That's crazy. I don't know how he can help the department. I think he's going to be more of a distraction than he will be effective at his job. Does anybody else agree with that? That's crazy. How can he help the police?
I agree. I agree, but I think one thing about the protest, because a couple of key words they were using in the beginning, talking about peace, and that was for the protesters, for the people protesting. But the problem is every peaceful protest could be turned in a whole different direction as soon as they say that, you're gathering illegally on this corner, you can't walk down the street, you can't do this. And I'm saying there's always ways around the peace part.
Mm-hmm. And then you know what?
So,
you remember during the earlier protests when they told them they had to keep moving?
I remember that 100%. I was there.
You remember you posted today? What happened when that was going on?
Well, it all goes back to the original reason there's all these protests out there is the protest wouldn't be anywhere near this big. It wouldn't have garnered anywhere near that attention, and it wouldn't be any of the planned violence if the police had just left the funeral procession alone. Like, there was a bunch of mourners outside of Mike Brown's memorial the day he died and the day after he died. They were mourning. They weren't even protesting. They were just sad, angry, etc. And the police decided to show up at night with APCs and riot gear and all that fun stuff. And they did that. They would continually dig themselves deeper in the hole. You asked about moving. There was a 5-second rule. I talked about it in my status a little bit earlier this evening. There's a 5-second rule. The 5-second rule was, if you want to protest, you can't stand, sit, congregate, etc. anywhere for longer than 5 seconds. That enrages people. That tells people that we don't respect you. And if you're going to not give them that kind of respect, then they're not going to respect you back. And I want to make one other point, and I really enjoy the conversation, so I'm kind of just listening in. But you asked about solutions. I've done some political activity and won in certain areas with Panda. And like in Emmett, Idaho, we have forced that city to return not only on the NDAA, not only have they banned that, but we forced them to return $117,000 of money that they were going to use to take people's property away. We've done work in the capital of New York. We've done work all over the country. And there are a few specific tactics that I'd like the panel to kind of weigh in on and discuss based on kind of what I've heard. Because anybody, CNN, NBC, they'll all talk forever about the verdict. They'll talk until they're blue in the face and their eyes sink back into their head. But on this show, a little bit more independent, you guys have been a little bit, maybe we can talk a little bit more solutions. So I would suggest 3 just kind of topics to jump off and then go from there. The number one is there was a suggestion earlier made about divesting yourself from the money system and kind of setting up a bartering system. And as much as that would be wonderful, there's a little bit of an easier way, and that is Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a decentralized payment system combined with a currency. So when you use Bitcoin, you pay 0 taxes to the state. 0. Zilch, nada, nothing. So you give them nothing. You back out of their monetary system completely. And it works somewhat like a barter system in that, except if you were using PayPal to barter things. It's essentially what Bitcoin is. So if people want to start looking into that as a way to divest yourself from the monetary system and still have a somewhat stable platform to conduct business on, not have to start something yourself, I'd recommend looking into Bitcoin. Number 2, Ferguson signed up, registered to vote between the day Mike Brown was shot in the midterm elections, 240 people. There are 22,000 people in that city. 240 registered to vote in that time, in just about 3 months. That is, it's pathetic. And while I don't say, people, there's one side of the spectrum that says your vote means nothing, and there's one side of the spectrum that says your vote means everything. I don't fall on either side. After working with the vote and actually forcing change in certain cities, I would say your vote is the cherry on top. Unless you're going to start tarring and feathering politicians and putting them on a stick and sending them out the door, then your vote is not everything. But you need to place the final nail in the coffin, so to speak, by voting and ushering them out of office and teaching them a lesson so that when the next politician comes in, he remembers it. And then finally, boycotting. It, in the same way that movies make revolutions sound really sexy when there's all kinds of people in the streets, as if that would change something, the boycotting idea of boycotting everything and just not shopping also sounds very appealing. However, if we're going to be realistic and we're going to focus on things that work, one thing you can do is pick a specific company that you guys have, or that people in the protest know support Darren Wilson or know support the police protest down there, and the second trait of that company is it is something that you guys are invested in already. So don't target like Bearcat companies because you're not really going to be able to do anything to them. But pick a company. I would not recommend Walmart because they're just such a big company. Pick something someone you can scare. Pick a company that you can make an example out of. You can't make an example out of Walmart. Let's be realistic here. You can't make an example out of Walmart, but you can make an example out of.
No. Let me stop you. I disagree. If black people from across the country, withdrew their dollars from Walmart, they would make. I'm sorry, that would make an impact. That would make. I disagree. That would make an impact. I disagree.
And I'm okay with your disagreement.
Well, let me add one thing to what Kheri just said. See, in every community they're building so many Walmarts right now that they have a percentage of weekly income that they expect. They have a percentage of loss for theft that they expect every month. But if you're in a community that's majority minority and you stop shopping at Walmart, it would be detected in the first week.
Yes.
I suppose the only thing I could say as far as that's concerned is if you targeted a specific Walmart store, like say one that was in Ferguson, like off the edge of West Florissant, there's one. If you targeted a specific Walmart store, then I think you would have the numbers. Throughout history, though, people have been targeting big companies like Walmart in massive actions, and Walmart has not responded. However, if you were to target a specific store, I think that might be a way to go. And those 3 things, Bitcoin, small local electoral politics, where McCulloch lies, small electoral politics, and Bitcoin. Those three things, I want to just kind of start the discussion on solutions and then step out of it.
Okay. Well, I want to say something regarding boycotting.
I started off with politics. I'm saying I went to the courthouse and got over 3,000.
Yes. In terms of boycott, why don't we go out there on Black Friday and join the workers of Walmart who are going to be protesting about their conditions, their salaries? They're going to be on the picket line Black Friday. Why don't we go out there and join those protesters at the Walmart stores and shut it down?
And so, see, Kheri, there's one thing that the gentleman that I'm not sure if he's aware of. Okay, I could agree with him to a certain degree in terms of Walmart and the enormity of Walmart. But here's the key. You can hit any company. It doesn't matter what size they are at a specific time. Not just
Christmas.
a specific company. Because Christmas starting November, basically Thanksgiving and November, those 2 months bring in more than 75% of their total retail revenue.
Absolutely.
So if you hit them in that time, you're going to hit those CEOs into the table.
I love that.
I concur.
We got to go back to the phone lines and pick up.
It's up to us, and it can start this weekend. Nobody, not just black people, there are a number of Caucasians who also realize how wrong this is and who are interested in justice. They are killing not just black people, they're killing Caucasians, they're killing mentally ill people, they're killing children. We all need to start boycotting as of now. And we need to just skip Christmas in 2014. And don't say they won't miss us. They will miss us because all they care about is money. And if we make a good showing starting now, the Justice Department will respond and they will put charges against Wilson because they don't love Wilson. All they love is dollar bills, and we got the money, and we need to boycott for justice beginning now. We need to not participate in any shopping, and we need to not pick a particular store. Just don't shop. If you got friends, relatives, cousins who have their own little shops, then yes, go to those individual retailers who have things that you might like. But don't go to any nationwide stores at all. We need to show the elitists that we are the constituents, we are the consumers, and we will not put up with them killing us every freaking week anymore. Keep your money in your pocket. Don't pick any particular retailer. Don't go to any of them any more than you absolutely have to. And if you must shop, then shop only with small individual retailers. Thank you very much.
Okay, we're going to go to, thank you, Mary. We're going to go to 111-1111. So you have a block number. You're calling in from Skype. I'm not sure. Good evening. You're on center stage.
Good evening. This is Nanny, Miss Kheri, and I wanted to weigh in on a couple of issues. One, with Bitcoin, there has been a lot of up and down motion with it. And for the most part, to use Bitcoin, you have to do online shopping. And it is not an immediate means of using another currency. The second thing is that everyone's saying boycott, don't go to the store, don't buy anything. But you must remember all of us do not live in urban centers where there are different choices. So my question would be, what do you expect us to do? Because I live in Texas, and I live in the woods, and it takes me a good little while to get to any market or what have you. So what do we do? We're already here.
Only buy what's necessary for your life. Only buy food. Only buy gas such as you need to get back and forward to work. Only buy what is absolutely necessary. Absolutely. Tell everybody on your Christmas list that you are not participating in Christmas this year.
Well, first of all, you're making an assumption that I participate in Christmas. But what I'm bringing to the table is that you have to consider all of us are not in a position to boycott. So my question is, what are the alternatives?
This is 314. Can I speak to that?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
With regards to the alternative, you can during the blackout, what you do, there's a couple of things you can do. You can set up a letter, a letter that can be utilized electronically by everyone to sign and to be sent to specific individuals that are relevant to this particular situation. You can also and use your social media to maybe watch the police yourself. Every time you go somewhere and you see, one of the things that we've done here recently, every time we see a cop pull an African American over, we actually stop our car, pull out our camera, our phones, and sit there and monitor it. Now, mind you, we're in our car. They have no idea what we're doing. But especially if it's on a normal street, you then are policing the police. And if you happen to see a cop turn his siren on to drive across a red light and then turn the siren off, you videotape it, you record it, and you show it. But you don't just send it. You send it through social media so that the media can pick it up and say, look at this, police officers are committing these crimes. What are they doing about it? And now you talked about voter registration. Understand something about St. Louis. Well, understand something about the state of Missouri. Missouri was the last state to abolish slavery. The 13th Amendment had this addendum in there. Former slaves can be free unless they commit a crime. Then they become indigent servants to the state in which they reside. That is the penal system that we have today. Then they developed these laws. If you looked at a white woman, you would commit a crime, therefore you were indigent servant and you built our highways and our roadways. That being said, the majority of the African Americans that live here are basically generational from that environment. We never had a civil rights movement here. As a matter of fact, the reason why St. Louis is so disastrous is responding to what we're dealing with is because we've never had a protest. We've never protested anything. Never. And East St. Louis does not count. That's another state, Illinois. Now, people here are so programmed to believe white people are superior. White people are relevant. My voice is irrelevant. I hear these things and it drives me crazy. They say stuff like, you acting like you white. What? We, in our city, honey, in our city, oh, my God, it breaks my heart. I listen to the conversations about this in ideology. Let me tell you something about what we do here. And you go to a fast food restaurant, okay? A white person comes up with a customer, and this black person's behind the counter. Hi, how may I help you? Have a wonderful day. A black person, the same person, comes up, may I help you, please? Hello? I see it all the time. We have devalued ourselves. When we look in the mirror, we don't like what we see behind because Missouri is unique. Understand? We are one of the most segregated states, and St. Louis is one of the most segregated cities in the United States. Honey, I could tell you, you tell me what part of St. Louis you're from, I could tell you who live there and their ethnic makeup. So understand something. It's deeper than just a boycott thing. So what you have to do is you have to use technology and use progressive ways of doing it. Police to police. Post things that you see. Stop and take pictures. And then, not only that, write down date, time, just in case you would be called to be a witness. And I got something that I love that I have on my cell phone. It's automatic record. The police doesn't even know it exists. If something happens, I push one button. While it's blocked out, it automatically records the conversation. There's so many things you can do, not just the letter writing, but when you do vote and when you do decide to vote, publicize. I have voted for this person because they supported Mike Brown. I voted against this person because they didn't. And by the way, judges are also up. And I'm going to leave after this one point. My mom got into a war with City Hall. She was so angry about this judge. She developed this petition. Elections coming up. She did everything in her power to make sure black people didn't vote for this judge. It was hilarious to me because she gave an example of this judge had an impact on my life. I got this judge off the bench. And so there are things that you can do as an individual. But I'm serious about the blackout because African Americans spend more money, honey, than some ethnic groups put together. If you put Asians and Jews together, I guarantee you we outspend them during the holidays. Now, with regards to, we don't say Christmas. We say Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, Shukina, Wakana, Azulu, whatever you want to call it. It's called a blackout. It's not a Christmas black. It's got a blackout. And by the way, for those Christians, Jesus is the reason for the season. It ain't got nothing to do with buying some pair of shoes. And on that note, I'm going to shut up.
I love it. Listen, y'all, it is what it is. I mean, we are facing uncharted waters. We ain't been here before. I'm just going to tell you, in my whole lifetime, I ain't been here before. I mean, and I'll be honest with you, prayer is all I know. I mean, and the thing is, if I hadn't seen God work in my life, I wouldn't be saying it. And I've had situations recently, this week, where God has shown up. And so I'm going to say to anybody that said prayer doesn't work, maybe you ought to try it. Because if it was ever prayer time, it is prayer time now. We got to pray for our brothers and sisters in Missouri. Y'all, they in trouble. I mean, they are under attack. They are currently, as we speak, being shot at. Tear gas is being thrown at them. They're being forced into the neighborhood, and God knows what may happen by daybreak. I mean, the hospital's on standby waiting for casualties, y'all. We're talking about they're fighting a militarized police presence up there. So when someone says, you know, prayer don't work, I beg to differ with you. And I just say today, try it. And if you don't believe in it, try it anyway, because it may save a brother or sister up there. I mean, we're praying for the protesters. You know, in my opinion, I wish y'all try something else. Take the protest to another level. Come out the streets and take it to the ballot boxes. Come out of the streets and decide to bring our communities together. Use this as the catalyst for us to come together and realize that we're under attack and we need each other. Let's bring an end to black-on-black crime. Let's do something and unify. As Queen Latifah said, UNITY, it is time for that now. Now is the time. It's now or never. Okay, y'all, we got to get out of here. We talked about the Mike Brown grand jury decision. We're heavy-hearted tonight. We're disappointed, but it also caused me to lace up my boots to know what I have to do. So listen, y'all, the best is yet to come from Center Stage. We are digging in on the Mike Brown decision, and the best is yet to come. Y'all just stay tuned. We'll be back next Friday night from 8 to 10 p.m. Central, 9 to 11 Eastern. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
You took my son away from me. You know how hard it was for me to get him to stay in school and graduate. You know how many black men graduate? Not many. Because you bring them down to this type of level where they feel like they don't got nothing to live for anyway.
Usually I might clown, but right now, this one's for Mike Brown, so pipe down. We gotta stop all the rioting in the streets. We ain't doing nothing but proving we animals to police. Another child dies, another mother cries. Another neighborhood left with a whole bunch of wives. Why did they pursue him? Why they had to shoot him? But I don't think that the answer is everybody looting. But forget that cop, he deserves state time. They let Zimmerman off, this cop ain't learned from Trayvon. I'm just sitting here dropping a little tear of knowledge. Cause Mike Brown ain't even lived to see a day at college. He would've started soon, that there's an empty seat in class. All because of these demons hiding behind a badge. So screw that badge, screw your protection. And screw that law, carry your weapon. But some of these stores y'all looting is black owned. I know it's for a cause, but some of them still have families at home. It's not a black or white thing, it's about abusing the law. I can't imagine Dorian's face when he saw Mike fall. My tears wetting the page while I'm writing this. I know y'all so in tune, if you not, why you fighting it? Just let go. Let your heart beat and never lose control. And God rest his soul, cause I am Mike Brown. I am Mike Brown. He represent us all, we from a similar town. Walk them similar streets, we got similar police. So how I know I ain't gonna end up under a similar sheet. So I am Mike Brown, cause I'm out here with my homie. I'm just walking my block, man, everybody know me. So I am Mike Brown. I am Mike Brown. I am Mike Brown, homie, I am Mike Brown. I am Mike Brown.
He shot again, and once my friend felt that shot, he turned around and he put his hands in the air, and he started to get down, but the officer still approached with his weapon drawn, and he fired several more shots.
I am Mike Brown, I am Sean Bell. I am Larry Davis bleeding in my dingy cell. I am Angelo Clark, I am Oscar Grant. I am Dante Price doing what you others can't. I am Bo Morrison, Melvin Lawhorn. I am the voice of these people cause they are long gone. Let's go behind the badge, fall behind the beat. Behind the politics, they wonder why we don't trust police. They wonder why we carry nines on us. They look for drugs but shoot for anything they find on us. I am Justin Sid fighting for my life kicking. Slowly dying cause police said I look suspicious. We are all of these people in so many ways. I am Raymond Island, left to die for 2 days. I just bought a new hoodie, guess I'm Trayvon. I am Dwayne Brown, lay down, try not to die. All the halls I feel my heart beating slower, listen. And all you dealing with is maybe gonna lose your pension. You might not notice this, but this the new form of lynching. I got my hands up, but still I see that cop inching. The mystery of this, I think I never know. Why they had to shoot him down, couldn't just let him go. The mystery of this, I think I never know. Why they had to shoot him down, couldn't just let him go. I am Mike Brown, he represent us all, we from a similar town. Walk them similar streets, we got similar police. So how I know I ain't gonna end up under a similar sheet. So I am Mike Brown, cause I'm out here with my homie. I'm just walking my block, man, everybody know me. So I am Mike Brown, I am Mike Brown, I am Mike Brown, homie, I am Mike Brown, I am
you
Mike Brown.
You took my son away from me. You know how hard it was for me to get him to stay in school and graduate. You know how many black men graduate? Not many. Because you bring them down to this type of level where they feel like they don't got nothing to live for anyway. They're going to try to take